I'm on one with Giannis, the Greek freak, the most dominant player in the NBA.
Julius Randle, most improved player. Very proud of the year that he had. Deserving of his money.
Pascal Siakam. He really just showed everything.
With Jayson, I just love everything, the way he plays the game, his demeanor, and I just know he's built for stardom.
In the 2000s, the power forward position was absolutely loaded with legends like Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, and then there was kind of a brief period in the 2010s that the position died a little bit. But now I think this position is fully back, and I'm excited to drop my top 30 power forward rankings for the 2025 NBA season. This position is kind of loaded. So we've done point guards, shooting guards, and small forwards. So if there's someone that could also be a power forward, they may have already been in the small forward video. And there's two guys that would definitely be featured here, but they're going to be in the center video, and that's Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Chet Holmgren of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I have a ton of honorable mentions, so let's just get right into it. And remember, this is what I think is going to happen next year's season, not just ranking them today. First honorable mention I got is Alex Sarr, the second overall pick. Next up, I have Caleb Martin, the new Philadelphia 76er. I got Dorian Finney-Smith, who's currently Brooklyn Net, probably won't be one past the trade deadline. Jared Vanderbilt, Peyton Watson, Najee Marshall, Taylor Hendricks, Nikola Jovic, Obi Toppin, and Tari Eason all just missed the cut. You could have them between 25 and 30, and I'd be okay with that. But I think a lot of those players are in a similar tier right now. So to kick things off at number 30, I do have Isaiah Stewart of the Detroit Pistons. I think he's a little bit forgotten because he's not on a great team. But in my opinion, Stewart is a really good two-way forward that you can have as a stretch four because he's able to knock down open shots. He's also a solid rim protector as well. Last year for the Pistons, in just 46 games, Stewart averaged 11 points, 6.5 rebounds, and shot 49% from the field and 38% from three. And being able to give you plus defense at times, he can play the four, he can play the five, he can space the floor as well and shoot high 30s from three for somebody of his size. In my opinion, that's a top 30 power forward, and I think he's going to excel this year. Another year with Cade Cunningham. Coming in at number 29, someone that just got $90 million this past offseason, Patrick Williams. Could this finally be the year that Patrick Williams breaks out? I think so. Patrick Williams is now going to be higher in the scoring pecking order, and they now have a lead initiating point guard to run the show for them in Josh Giddey, who's going to be able to give Patrick Williams open looks. DeMar DeRozan is in Sacramento. Who knows what's going to happen with Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic this year? And I think a lot of eyes can be on Patrick Williams, who was really good defensively last year, and he got off to that abysmal start, but still ended up shooting 44% from the field and 40% from three, and someone that has his switchability on the defensive end of the floor, good ball handling skills for somebody of his size. Patrick Williams, if everything goes right for him and can be consistent over 82 games, could actually be a top 25 power forward rather than here at number 29. I value defense a ton, man, in these rankings, and that's why I have Derrick Jones Jr. in the top 30. He's coming in here at number 28. He really showed out his defensive flashes in the playoffs last year, and just being able to be that important and impactful as a defender on the perimeter, guarding other teams' best guards and wings on the NBA's biggest stages in the playoffs is definitely going to hold you to a higher standard now. And I think Derrick Jones Jr. has really shown great career progression since being drafted out of UNLV. Not really living up to some of the hype he had earlier in his career, but has really found himself a nice role, got himself a nice contract from the Clippers because of his elite defensive potential, and he's still a solid three-point shooter, so he's a little bit of a stretch four, can handle the ball, great cutter, can get alley-oops, top 30 power forward in my opinion. Coming in at number 27, I have someone that could be a defensive player of the year winner if he could stay healthy, and that's Jonathan Isaac of the Orlando Magic. Isaac will always have his limitations offensively too, because he's not even going to be the best power forward from the Orlando Magic mentioned in this video. And Isaac last year in 58 games showed that he's still one of the best defenders in the NBA. There's a reason why the Magic extended him this offseason. He did shoot 38% from three as well. He's solid offensively, but he's someone that can guard other teams' best player. He could switch on to multiple positions. He could be a good perimeter defender, a good post defender. He can get in the passing lanes. And he missed 2 full years with that ACL injury, so hopefully he's going to be the healthiest he's been since his 2019 season, where we thought he was going to be a superstar in this role as a primary defending power forward, but someone that's also able to be a plus on the offensive end. Coming in at number 26 is another player that balled out for the Dallas Mavericks in the playoffs last year, and that's PJ Washington, who they picked up at the trade deadline from the Charlotte Hornets. Washington did show flashes on the defensive end of the floor in the playoffs, and he was really good against the Thunder in round number 2. He shot the lights out. He averaged 17.5 points, 8 rebounds, and shot 48% from the field and 47% from three. And there's definitely always been a bunch of inconsistencies in Washington's game, and I would like for him to be more consistent out there with his outside shot, with his finishing at the rim, with his defensive ability. And if he puts it all together with another year with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving in Dallas, this is going to be a consistent spot for him in the power forward rankings. Yeah, this position is loaded, where Bobby Portis is number 25. Bobby Portis is also kind of like a tweener between the power forward and center position, but he's played more minutes at the 4 spot over the last couple of years. Last year, he played all 82 games, was an Iron Man for the Milwaukee Bucks, averaged 14 points, 7.5 rebounds, and shot 51% from the field and 41% 44% from 3. And he was fine against the Pacers in round number 1. He averaged 16 points, 11 rebounds in 6 games and shot 48% from the field, but 25% from 3. He has been pretty inconsistent with his outside jumper in the playoffs outside of the NBA Finals in 2021. And there could be defensive lapses. There could just also be silly fouls or just maybe an ejection early in a game that we saw in the playoffs last year. But Bobby Portis is as consistent as it gets, and he's someone that's always going to be between 20 and 30. So I got him here at 25. Coming in at number 24, I have Miles Bridges of the Charlotte Hornets. Onto the 23rd spot, where I have someone that I feel like isn't talked about a lot, and he's someone that could definitely have that year 3 jump from the 2022 draft class. Was a top 10 pick, Jeremy Shohan of the San Antonio Spurs. So the Spurs really didn't add anybody in the front court this offseason that's going to take minutes away from Jeremy Shohan. He's probably still going to start next to Wembanyama in that front court. And the point guard experiment with him did not work out. Well, luckily, he's not going to have to do that at all once again. It's going to be Chris Paul and Stephon Castle back there and Trey Jones as well. Last year in year 2, Shohan averaged 11.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. The three-point shot improved from 25% from 3 to 31% from 3. And I did think he was a solid defender as well out there. And I think Shohan is someone that could really thrive into this glue guy role and could be like that next Aaron Gordon, that next Draymond Green type guy, and could be a winning player for a team for years to come. Coming in at number 22, I have the new Detroit Piston, Tobias Harris. Now, Tobias Harris making $35 million a year. Yeah, that is a complete overvalued player in this league. He's overpaid 100%, and he's shown to be way too passive with the ball and not aggressive enough in the playoffs. But I do think he's actually going to excel great next to Cade Cunningham in Detroit. A lot less spotlight on him. He's coming off a year where he averaged 17 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 3 assists a night, and a shot 49% from the field and 35% from 3. And he's not going to be taking up a third of team's cap space anymore. So I do think Tobias Harris is going to thrive in this role. A little bit less pressure on him, but could be a nice veteran and help the guys get better around him in Detroit. Coming in at number 21, I have Jabari Smith Jr. of the Houston Rockets. I would love to put Jabari Smith higher on this list. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Marcus Morris if you watch him with his pull-up jumpers. He had such high potential coming in that 2022 draft. I just don't know if there's going to be the volume and the usage in Houston, because they got to develop guys like Şengün and Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd, Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Houston. Haven't even talked about those veterans there as well. So I do wonder if Jabari Smith is going to have the opportunity next year, but I think there's still a ton of potential for him to do so, to improve on both ends of the floor. Last year in 76 games, he averaged just under 14 points, 8 rebounds, and a shot 45% from the field and 36% from 3, 81% from the line as well. And I think the jumper looks really smooth, where he could shoot high 30s from 3 this year with somebody of his size and his athleticism. That is going to be very hard to come by at the NBA level. Next up, I have Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors. I do think, once again, he's going to be a power forward. Maybe he's going to play a little bit more small forward next year. We'll see where Draymond also plays, and we'll get to him later. But last year was Jonathan Kuminga's breakout year from the 2021 draft class. He appeared in 74 games, averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds, and shot 53% from the field. And he improved almost every aspect of his game, but one thing that was vital to him breaking out was the opportunity he had. Draymond was suspended. Steve Kerr finally decided to start Jonathan Kuminga out there, and he played more after the All-Star break. All his numbers improved. The efficiency went up, and I think this could be a very big year for Kuminga now that there's 18 points that need to be filled with Klay Thompson going to Dallas. Coming in at number 19, I have Kyle Kuzma of the Washington Wizards. I don't think that Kuzma is going to be on the Wizards at the end of the year. He's probably going to get moved around the trade deadline. But last year in 70 games for the Wizards, Kuzma averaged 22 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 4 assists a night. He shot 46% from the field, 34% from 3, and 77% from the line. And I don't think Kuzma is a great defensive player whatsoever. I'm not really sure if he's a ceiling raiser. He's a fine scorer, but he was also on the worst team, or one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. So I don't really think he would be able to thrive in this role if it was on a team that's trying to win a championship. I don't really think it would work out his style of playing at OKC or Minnesota or Boston. But he's still a really crafty scorer, and he's one of the better stretch fours and just primary scoring power forwards in the league. Coming in at number 18, I have Keegan Murray of the Sacramento Kings. Keegan Murray's three-point shot got worse last year. He shot 41% from 3 in his rookie year, 35% from 3 last year on the same amount of volume, but I do think that Keegan Murray's defense improved a lot. Free throws got better. I thought he was more aggressive at times when it mattered more. And maybe his numbers are going to go up a ton this year now that they added DeMar DeRozan in Sacramento, but I do think if Keegan Murray can kind of revert back to what he was as a three-point shooter in his rookie year and can keep taking those strides defensively, he's going to be an elite 3-and-D player in this league that is vital to a championship team. And speaking of players that can be vital to a championship team, I have Josh Hart of the New York Knicks coming in here at 17. It's kind of crazy that Josh Hart is probably going to play a lot of power forward next year. He was someone that came in as a shooting guard coming out of Villanova, but now that the Knicks have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, he's probably going to be that backup power forward to Julius Randle, so I threw him in here for this ranking, and I think Hart is someone that can make every team better for what he does on both ends of the floor. Last year for the Knicks, he averaged 9.5 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in the regular season, but really showed up for the Knicks in the playoffs, appearing in 46 minutes a night against the Sixers in round number 1, averaging 17 points, 12 rebounds and 4.5 assists a night, shooting 41% from the field and 43% from three. He shot 48% from the field against the Pacers in round number 2. The three-point shot was still a little inconsistent, but he played 30.5 minutes a night, 12.5 points, and 11 rebounds. And if you look at his pre and post All-Star splits of last year too, where he played 11 more minutes a night, his points went up by 5 a night, his rebounds went up by 3.5 a night, his assists went up by 3 a night as well. And he's someone that is going to be an Iron Man for you out there. He's going to crash the glass on both ends of the floor, give you 110%, out hustle anyone around him, and also have a nice clutch factor to him as well, and is going to knock down his threes. The only thing with Josh Hart, he's a little bit too passive and has not the greatest confidence because he'll definitely pass up some open jumpers. Coming one spot ahead of Josh Hart, I have Jeremy Grant of the Portland Trailblazers. We'll see if Jeremy Grant is going to be traded to the Lakers or some other team before the season starts. Last year in 54 games for Grant on the Portland Trailblazers, he averaged 21 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 3 assists, shot 45% from the field, 40% from three, and 82% from the line. And you could look at like the Kyle Kuzma or the Miles Bridges factor with Jeremy Grant from last year. Are these just empty stats on a bad team? But I do think Jeremy Grant is more efficient than those two other guys and definitely a lot better on the defensive end of the floor. Coming in at number 15, I have Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors. This is probably going to be the last year that Draymond Green is a top 15 power forward in the league. In my opinion, this position is getting a lot stronger and Draymond is getting a little bit older. Obviously, there's some character issues as well with Draymond of last year getting to multiple fights at the start of the year with Rudy Gobert and with Yusuf Nurkic and really not finding accountability. And there were even times last year, like against the Orlando Magic, where he got 2 technical fouls at the start of the game and got kicked out while the Warriors were trying to make a playoff run and get out of the play-in tournament. I just think there's too many question marks with Draymond. He's still one of the league's best defenders and smartest guys on that end of the floor. But like I said, I do think this is going to be the last year that Draymond is a top 15 power forward in the NBA. And coming in at number 14 is someone that kind of became the new Draymond Green and was in that role perfectly for the Denver Nuggets in their 2023 championship team, Aaron Gordon. When I watch guys like Tari Eason or Denny Avdia or Jeremy Shohan, could one of those guys kind of emerge and excel with Aaron Gordon in that type of role that he was in Orlando, but really showed out when he got traded to the Denver Nuggets and could be such a huge part to a team trying to win a championship for what he's going to do on both ends of the floor. He knows his role. He's not going to take bad shots. He's going to take efficient shots, but also be able to play defense, play make, defend. It's just something you want from your power forward nowadays. Coming in at number 13, he broke out last year for the Atlanta Hawks. I think he could break out again this year, and that is Jaylen Johnson. DeJounte Murray got traded for Larry Nance and Dyson Daniels. There's a big point differential between those two sides of that trade package, and I think Jaylen Johnson could emerge clearly as the number 2 scoring option for this team. Last year in 56 games, he averaged 16 points, 9 rebounds, and shot 51% from the field, but showed enough flashes where he can elevate those numbers in year number 4 and be a fringe top 10 power forward in the NBA. Coming in at number 12, it's Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would love to put Evan Mobley in the top 10. I just don't know if he's going to break out offensively in year number 4 now that Jared Allen is still there and got extended in Cleveland. I just don't know if it's going to be optimized perfectly for Mobley to succeed in that offensive role that he is trying to be in. Mobley was still really good for the Cavs last year. He averaged 16 points in 50 games, shot 58% from the field, 37% from 3 on low volume, and still put up 9.5 rebounds and 3 assists. He was on all defensive first team and finished 3rd in defensive player of the year voting after the 2023 season. Mobley could still be one of the best defenders in all of basketball. I'm just a little hesitant on if he's going to take that offensive jump this year. Coming in at number 11, he was in the 2021 draft class with Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, the rookie of the year from that class. Yeah, like I said multiple times in this video, the power forward position is in great hands right now when Scotty Barnes is the 11th best power forward in the NBA. He's coming off a year where he averaged 48% from the field, 34% from 3, 20 points, 6 assists, 8 rebounds, and was an all-star in year number 3. There was a lot of question marks with Scotty Barnes after year number 2 where he was kind of stagnant from his rookie season, but broke out fully in year number 3, and we could definitely see him take strides to being a top 10 power forward this year. So to kick off the top 10, we have Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl-Anthony Towns played in 62 games last year, averaged 22 points and 8 rebounds, and still won as the Karl-Anthony Towns is coming off a year where he appeared in 62 games, averaged 22 points, 8 rebounds, and shot 50% from the field and 42% from 3. And in the playoffs last year, he was great against the Phoenix Suns in round number 1, averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, and was a great number 2 option to Anthony Edwards. He was great in round number 2 against the Denver Nuggets as a number 2 option, but really struggled in the Western Conference Finals against Dallas, where he shot 37% from the field and 24% from 3. And sometimes it just looks a little clunky with him and Rudy Gobert out there at the same time. But I do think Cat has been very consistent over the course of his career and should definitely be a top 10 power forward in this league. Coming one spot ahead of Karl-Anthony Towns, it was a tough decision, but I ended up going with Julius Randle of the New York Knicks. Randle was on his way again to being on an All-NBA team once again last year before getting hurt in January. Randle really got off to a rough start in the month of October, but he was great in the month of November, but got even better in December and January. In December, he averaged 27.5 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists on good efficiency. Same thing in January, good numbers on good efficiency, and was great out there with OG Anunoby. And Randle was an all-star last year. He was an all-star in 2023. He was an all-star in 2021. He's been on multiple All-NBA teams since he's been in New York Knicks. I don't really think it's a hot take to have Julius Randle as a top 10 power forward in this league. Yes, he hasn't shown up in the playoffs, but he's been very consistent throughout the regular season, and I'm excited to see him as a secondary scoring option for the Knicks in the playoffs. We didn't get to see him behind a MVP candidate in Jalen Brunson last year in the playoffs, but now they have Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Brunson playing at a super high level. There's going to be a lot less stress on Julius Randle, and I think he can actually have some good playoff games this year. All right, so I messed up. I didn't include this guy. I thought I was going to have him as a center, but he's going to probably play power forward with them drafting Zach Edey. So coming in here between Julius Randle and my next guy, kind of at like an 8.5 spot, it's going to be Jaylen Jackson Jr. Yeah, obviously Jaylen Jackson Jr. is a top 10 power forward in the league. He's basically 1 year coming off winning Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 3 blocks a night. Last year was not a great year overall for the Memphis Grizzlies. They were banged up a ton. Jaylen Jackson Jr. averaged over 20 points, but he really didn't elevate his team as a number 1 scoring option at times. But I do think he's a fantastic number 2 option in this league and is better than almost everybody we've talked about on the defensive side of the floor. And I think he could be in contention once again for Defensive Player of the Year next year. He can be on all defensive first team, and I'm really excited to watch him with a fully healthy Grizzlies team and Zach Edey at the center spot to help him on the glass with his rebounding game. Coming in at number 8, he just got a new contract extension from the Utah Jazz, Lauri Markkanen. Markkanen had another good year last year and has really been one of the best power forwards in the NBA and one of the more efficient power forwards in the NBA since he got traded to the Utah Jazz back in the summer of 22. Over the last 2 years since being traded to Utah, 24.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and a shot 49% from the field, 40% from 3, and 89% from the line. There's a chance we can see Lauri Markkanen as a number 1 scoring option this year have a 50-40-90 season. Coming in at number 7, we have Pascal Siakam, who, like Lauri Markkanen, got paid from his team this offseason with the Indiana Pacers. Last year, Siakam was traded from the Toronto Raptors to the Pacers, averaged 22 points, 7 rebounds, and shot 54% from the field, and played well for the Pacers as a number 2 scoring option in the playoffs, averaging around 22 points per series, 8 rebounds, 4 assists a night, and has shot above 50% in all of those playoff series against the Bucks, the Knicks, and the Heat. And I don't think it'd be a number 1 scoring option on a championship team. That's really only reserved for the top 5 guys here. But I do think Siakam is as good as a number 2 as you can ask for at the power forward position. So coming in at number 6, just missing out on the top 5. I'm glad I can have him here and I don't have to worry about the injuries too much, and that's Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. Last year was a really good bounce back year for Zion. He played in 70 games, which is the most of his career. 31.5 minutes a night, averaged 23 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds, 57% from the field. And we finally got to see Zion be a little bit more of a playmaking forward in this league. I thought he showed great advancements with him, with the ball in his hands and his court vision. If he can stay healthy and play just 70 games a year, he's always going to be on that borderline of being a top 5 power forward in the NBA. So to kick off the top 5, I have Paulo Banero of the Orlando Magic. Paulo Banero was going to year number 3. Last year in year number 2, he was phenomenal. He played in 80 games for the Magic, 22.5 points, 7 rebounds, 5.5 assists. He was an all-star last year. He led the Orlando Magic to being the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference and took the Cavs to Game 7, round number 1 as the really only consistent scoring option in that playoff series for them. He averaged 27 points in 37 minutes, 8.5 rebounds, and 4 assists on good efficiency for the Magic in those playoff games. And he's just 21 years old. Just imagine what he's going to be like this year as a 22-year-old and just the years to follow. Oh man, this is tough. I have no idea where to rank him. He's 39 years old. I just talked about a 21-year-old. Well, I have LeBron James here at number 4. I'm always going to give LeBron the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to rank him outside the top 5 until we see notable regression from him. He's going to be 40 in December, but he's still coming off a year where he was on an All-NBA team. He was an All-Star. He averaged 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists, and was still a really good playoff player as well. Shot 57% from the field, averaged 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists for the Lakers. And he's not the player he used to be, but he's still a top 5 power forward in the NBA. Coming in at number 3, I have Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics. Yeah, it was interesting to have Jayson Tatum at number 3 and not at number 2. He was phenomenal last year in the regular season, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. He was on All-NBA first team, looked great as a two-way player in this league, and he was good in the playoffs, but just really wasn't great in round number 1 against Miami. He was okay in round number 2 against Cleveland, was phenomenal in the conference finals against the Pacers, but definitely took a step back in the NBA finals against the Dallas Mavericks. And he wasn't great in the NBA finals against the Golden State Warriors a couple years ago. He was kind of inconsistent with Team USA this summer. His jumper still looks kind of off. And still think he's a top 10 player in this league, but I don't think he's a top 2 power forward. Because coming in at number 2, I'm going with Kevin Durant. I still think Kevin Durant is a top 2 power forward in this league and will be one this year as well, going into his age 36 season. Last year, KD played in 75 games for the Suns and was still phenomenal. 27 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5 assists a night, and is as efficient as you can get in the NBA, especially for somebody of his height. 52% from the field, 41% from 3, 86% from the line. This dude is a walking bucket 99% of the time, and the Suns should be better. I'm excited to see Kevin Durant in meaningful playoff games once again, but this could also be KD's last year as a top 3 power forward, just to him getting up there in age. But coming in at number 1, I think this should be unanimous for everybody's top power forward in the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo. 30 points, 11.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists last year for Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. And they could have definitely made a playoff run if him and Dame didn't get injured. He finished 4th in MVP voting, was on All-NBA first team, was an All-Star, also got some Defensive Player of the Year votes. And in my opinion, has been a top 2 player in the NBA for the last 5 seasons. He's elite on both ends of the floor. And you could even make a very good argument that he's not only the top power forward in the NBA, but the best player in the NBA as a whole. So that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy my top 30 power forwards in the NBA for the 2025 season. Let me know what you agree with or disagree with in the comments below. Drop a thumbs up if you guys do enjoy, and I will see you guys in the final positional rankings of the top 30 centers. Peace.